Fitting the flags. To add the Union flag on the main mast, take a 1300mm length of thread and tie one end to the main mast cap. Feed the thread through the block on the top of the main mast. Tie the thread off to the 8th shroud on the port main chainwell, just above the deadeyes. This thread needs to be pulled quite tight to hold the weight of the flag. Take the larger Union flag without removing the backing. Fold the flag in half and crease it. Remove the backing paper and stick the flag to itself around the thread. Use the vertical section of thread between the mast cap block so that the flag hangs straight. To add the St George's Cross on the foremast, take a 1100mm length of thread and tie it to the foremast cap. Thread it through the block on the top of the foremast and then tie it to the 8th foremast shroud. Fit the George Cross in the same way as you fitted the Union flag. To add the Union Jack on the jackstaff fitted to the bowsprit, attach the smaller Union Jack to the middle of a 300mm length of thread. Feed the thread at the top of the flag through the block at the top of the jackstaff and then tie both ends to the eye at the bottom of the jack. To add the pennant on the mizzen mast, take a 900mm length of thread and tie one end to the mizzen mast cap. Feed this through the block on the top of the mizzen mast. Tie this to the 3rd mizzen shroud. To add the white Ensign on the driver gaff. Start by fitting a 7mm eye bolt near the end of the taffrail. Be careful not to let the drill come out through the wood at the stern. Then take a 600mm length of thread and feed it through the block on the end of the driver gaff. Tie both ends to the eye bolt you just fitted. Fold the white ensign over the thread as you did with the earlier flags. Fitting the dummy guns. Add the remainder of the dummy guns that project from the open gun ports. Fitting the rudder chains. Take one of the eye bolts and twist it to open the loop. Insert the eye bolt through the end link and then twist the eye closed again. Drill a 0.7mm hole in the whale just under the mizzen chainrail. Then glue the eye bolts in place. Hold the chain in place against the eye in the rudder, then cut the chain to length with a pair of cutters. Use a 2mm brass ring to link the end of the chain to the eye bolt on the rudder. Repeat steps 1 to 5 on the other side of the model, making sure the chains hang down evenly. To finish off your small boats, carefully follow the steps on page 696, 697, 698 and 699 for painting of the barge, the cutter and the pinnace. In this stage we could be completing your model and fitting the remaining flags. Take an 800mm length of thread and feed it through the block on the port end of the mizzen topmast yard. Tie both ends to the second mizzen shroud. Fit the 3 signal flags around one side of the new line just below the yard arm in the order shown on step 3 of page 700 of your instructions. Use scissors to separate the two halves of the pennant by cutting down the centre, avoiding the edges of the flags. Carefully peel off the first section of backing paper and lay a 300mm length of thread 2 to 3mm from the edge of the flag. Carefully peel the backing paper off the second half of the pennant and carefully place it over the first, making sure it is perfectly aligned. Tie the two ends of the thread together with a reef knot. Tie the pennant to the thread at the top of the mast. Carefully follow steps 1 and 2 for adding the Victory name. Glue the bucket handle to the bucket. You can glue it vertically, but it's more realistic if you glue it laid down. Spray the barrel supports and bucket with an automotive primer. Paint them black when the primer is dry. Carefully paint the sides and ends of the barrels and the side of the bucket brown, leaving the raised bands black. Glue the two supports to the barrel, make sure that they will sit flat on the surface. Prime the oars, then paint them white with yellow ochre blades. Tie them together in groups of 4 with thin natural coloured thread. Arrange the barrel, buckets and oars along with the set of oars and the mast rope, anchor and tiller supplied earlier in the series. We have shown a suggested layout in your instructions. Identify the chocks with numbers as shown, then paint both sides black. Start with the barge, glue chock 1 to the front of the barge, and then glue chock 2 over to the keel. Take the cutter and glue chock 3 over the keel and chock 4 14mm from the stern. Glue the boat to the cockpit opening using the plan in your instructions as a guide to the correct positions. The chocks align with the centres of the skid beams, except for those on the cutter, which sit on the thwarts of the barge.